Hey guys, welcome back to the Deeply Graphic Design Cast. I'm Nick Longo. Today, again, I'm going to try something totally different. I've always wanted to do a very unique episode, and the timing was never right. But over the last few days, I was thinking about this. This isn't designer to designer. This is designer to potential client. And why not do an episode? We've spent so many times talking about how we as graphic designers, independent freelancers, whatever we are, creatives, and how we go out and find different clients, onboarding, red flags, bigger clients, whatever it might be, right? We spent a lot of time talking about that. But I want to talk to the folks that are going to hire us. And I thought that would be an interesting thing. This isn't just for business owners or anyone who's looking to hire a graphic designer. This is for all of us, guys. It's the typical audience, because these could be really great insights into how to build your business better and to attract the right clients. So why not take it and spin this a little bit different and make it towards the business owner who's looking to hire a creative? I'm sure many of you will agree. I think in the last 2 to 3 years, I'd say most of my new clients have been brand new clients, meaning brand new business owners, brand new people looking to hire creatives. And a lot of them haven't had the experience of maybe working with a creative team or a creative person before in their careers. So here they are starting companies. Awesome for them. Great to hear there's so many new avenues and businesses and things that we can basically look to as future potential clients for us as small business owners. But I thought there was something really cool about the idea of like giving them tips and tricks as how to find a designer, and maybe it could just help us retool how we onboard and do things in our own business. So let's get to it. I want to make sure that there's no spin, not trying to sell my business in any way. All I wanted to do was kind of give the non-designer some tips and tricks on how to figure out working with a designer. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, cool. And designers, don't tune out, because this is truly for you. This is basically a cheat sheet for how to present yourself better to clients. So let's dive right into it. Number one, be clear on what you really need. So business owners, you're reaching out, and a lot of times it's a very exciting time. I'm sure you're going like, I finally need that logo for the business. Let me go find a graphic designer or a creative to build that logo for me. Problem is that most projects fail before they start because the client isn't sure what problem they need to be solved, right? Don't just say we need a logo. What I want you to think of before you go and approach a graphic designer is, do I need to attract more customers? Do I need to refresh an outdated look? Finally, look like I belong in my industry. What question, what problem are you currently having right now? In most cases, it's I've got an idea and I've got a product or I've got a service, and now I need a brand identity. Okay, that's great. But we do more than just do a logo. We do more than just giving you that one ID, and then we go our separate ways and hope everything works great for you. So the clearer you are, the better a designer can help. So think about what it is you need. What is the outcome of hiring that designer? And have that written down. These are things that a designer will like drool over if you go and contact a few and say, I've got a project, here's a little bit more. Number two, look beyond just pretty pictures. Again, folks that have never worked with creatives, when it's that time or that opportunity to reach out to one for any creative services that you might have, you're probably thinking of just how good this is going to look. Oh, I can't wait. My company's going to have a logo. This is going to look awesome. I can't wait to put it on shirts, whatever it is. What we're trying to do is more than just a pretty picture. So us designers are trying to give you, again, a solution to the problem that we already established in number one. And a good designer's portfolio isn't just eye candy. We have spent a lot of time trying to show you how we build and tell a story with the brands and the projects that we create for our clients. So what business owners need to do when you're looking for a creative or a designer to hire, look for explanations. If your designer you're looking at doesn't show what was the challenge, what was the solution, What were the choices I made? They're missing something there. You want to find that person, that designer that is showing off all of the bits and pieces of how they got to the end result. So I always talk about the challenges that I had with the project, and I make clear that this is not an easy task. I want to make sure they understand that I'm throwing in value. It's not just, again, a pretty picture. I talk about that challenge. I talk about a little bit about my solution through process, through research, through discovery, and all those phases. I want you, the business owner, to see that on my site and think, this person has already figured out. They seem to have an arc when it comes to building creative solutions for their clients. So if all you see is pretty visuals and really no backstory behind it, that might be a red flag. I want you to look for the designers that we spend a lot of time producing beautiful, robust case studies that have answers to all of your questions. You might not be seeing the real thinking behind it when there is nothing else there and it's just pretty pictures. So, number one, go through, look at the case studies, see what you can find that these designers are doing. And are they showing you process? Are they showing you explanations? Are they showing you strategy that was put into all of those work? All right, next up, check for variety and relevance. You might be looking for a broad scope of work to be done. You might be looking for a very specific niche. So get very specific of who you're looking for. You might search for designers that are in particular industries that you're in. You might be searching for one that do heavily packaging, UX, UI, entertainment design, whatever it might be. You want to look for those ones that are better matched to you based on relevancy. So you want to see that they've solved problems for the businesses that they specialize in, or like someone like myself, maybe it's in all kinds of different businesses, but the common thread is problem solving and then telling the story of that particular project. So are you looking for the cookie cutter person that can just do a lot of different things, or the jack of all trades? Or are you looking for a specific niche and specialty? We know how to cater to you and what you're looking for. If you have a incredible specialty as a graphic designer or creative, you're going to show that, and it's going to come through pretty apparent on your website. If we are a little bit more broad-based and generalist, then we're going to show that off as well. So identify which one is a better fit for your business, and then look for that in the designer that you're looking for. If you run a coffee shop, a designer who has only done, tech startups might not be the right vibe, and vice versa as well. Now, there's exceptions to that. I think sometimes some of the best work comes from a designer that has never touched that industry. So don't use this one as a, complete yes or no. I think it could be kind of cool to find that person that is dying to try something in a totally different environment. And that might be apparent in their website or maybe in some of the copy that they write. But if that person's specialty and that's what you need, great fit right from the beginning. Next up, listen to how they talk, not just how they show. Again, over the years, all of us here as graphic designers, business owners, that we create our own design work for all of our clients and potential vendors and partners that we work with, we have spent a lot of time building better narratives on our websites through our communication. Maybe it's even in the email that you get back from us in a certain way. So a great designer explains their work in plain English. There's no jargon, no buzzwords. The more you see of that, that could be someone's inexperience, and they felt like they needed to stretch a little bit of the truth in there. So what we like to do is make sure we're giving you a crystal clear explanation of what we do, how we'll work for you, and what expectations you can hopefully see in the results that we work. If they can't explain why they made choices without confusing you, there's a bit of a red flag there. So look for the designers. Many that I know, myself, we love to make sure we are telling you why we chose things. Color theory, font choices, images and photography, all of those things. If there's little components in the website that talk about the why, that should be a really great sign for you. Okay. So look for those things in designers that you're ready to hire. That will help out when it comes your turn to build something from scratch. And you're seeing that particular designer knows exactly how to run through that process. You should feel smarter after talking to them, not dumber. I love that idea of anytime I get a chance. One thing I had was a client that I knew was in a complete other space, was getting into something very food based, where I love to work mostly in. That has become kind of a specialty or a niche that I love to work in. And when I was able to explain everything I knew about the food industry and designing brands for it, this client of mine had just kind of, and here's someone we'd already worked with. He was instantly impressed with my knowledge of that. I gave him stuff to think about. I gave him challenges. I gave him little kind of like creative sparks and keywords and phrases that really made him feel like a bit of a professional now in this new endeavor he was getting into. And it gave him a little bit more confidence going back to his team with content, with information, with knowledge that we had talked about. So again, you should feel a bit smarter after talking to us than dumber. It's just hopefully the expectation you get from working with the folks that you're checking out, or maybe just potentially interviewing to be hired. Next up, ask them about their process. This is where we will shine. Again, a differentiation factor completely. If you ask them about their process, particularly if you've never worked with a graphic design or creative before, this should put you at ease. I love taking people through my process because first, if they're asking me, and I know they're a brand new business and maybe they've never worked with a creative before, they're going to want to know the ins and outs of how it is. And this is my chance to sell working with me as best as I can. I almost think this is more important than any other pitch area that I'm going to have, even throughout the whole process. If they say yes and we're working through them, this is my one sell that I love to be in, because I really feel like I can close the deal talking about my process. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, I'm talking to you graphic designers, use a visual map. Do some visual communication to show off your process to that potential client, particularly if they've never worked with a creative before. Visual elements showing a simple roadmap or a timeline with a path of how we get from A to Z. I'm sure you business owners will agree that's going to help you understand the process better. We don't just take everything from you, walk away, put together all of this magic, and then present it to you and say, take it or leave it. We become a partner. We become probably the closest person you might be working with over that time. And we're going to ask questions. We're going to talk about discovery. We're going to look at your competitors. And we're going to, most importantly, work and think like your consumer, your client, who's buying your product, who's paying for your subscription, whatever it might be. That's the thing I want to change the perception of working with graphic designers and professionals nowadays, is this idea that we just don't make pretty pictures. We will spend the time and do all that research and development to get to where you need to be. Specifically the consumer and who is going to be buying your thing. That has been the biggest differentiation for me when I'm talking to you, a business owner. I want you to know that we are not designing for anybody but the person that's going to come in and throw money your way. In fact, your personal preference, and a lot of the things that maybe your team thinks might be a good brand identity for you might not work. And a good designer is going to take the time to explain that to you and say, you might think differently because my data, my research, what we've done is showing we need to be right here. And everything you're talking about is just you coming in with an aesthetic that you think might work. And in most cases, you're kind of copying a competitor. That's just my experience of working with new business people. They really do love something happening in their industry and they want to follow that train. A good designer, like many of our listeners, are going to want to push you to something new, not something used and already done in your industry. So keep that in mind. We want to take you from we need design to here's the solution. So just like in the first point, you're coming to us. In most cases, I get an email that says we need a designer or we need a new logo. Like, That's not what you need. You need a solution. So the better you can be and the clearer you can be with that information before coming to one of us, man, you pure success down the road. Another question to ask any potential designer that you are interviewing: how do you normally kick off a project? How do you gather info? What happens after the first round? Now, those are great questions to ask. What I want to do is set up your expectation. Most graphic designers, most creatives for hire will have answers to these that hopefully will answer those questions. What we won't do is go too far into there where we're showing you the entire process of kind of like behind the scenes, our secret sauce. There's certain things that will be ignited once a contract is signed and once a deposit is signed. What we will do is maybe use prior projects, prior experience, prior testimonials, those kinds of things to prove to you that we know how to kick the project off, we know how to gather info, and we know what happens during that first round of design, and just anything to put you at ease. So how I would answer that as a designer, if someone asked me that, how do I normally kick off a project? Well, it's very simple. We're going to go dive deep with a full-blown questionnaire that you and your team will provide in unison, meaning I don't want this done with 6 different people with 6 different sets of answers. I want a cohesive answer from you as a team, you as a company, to my questionnaire. We're going to look into your competitor. We're going to look into what's happening in that industry. We're going to look into ways to break out of what everybody else is doing. So that's enough. That could be a great answer that you'll get. Secondly, how do you gather the information? Again, that could be a great way where you can talk about your process of that. Maybe you use a online source that collects and collates all of the information that a client's going to give the designer. So I would use that opportunity to tell them about maybe some of my back-end stuff, the things that we use in our business to make sure we're crystal clear. Maybe you're all working on Slack or Trello, some kind of project management thing. That could be a great way to show them that you're preset, you've done this many times, and you know how to run the show. Anything you can do to give confidence to the business owner to make sure that you're the right fit. And it's just confidence to know they know what they're doing. I feel a lot more confident in moving with you. What happens after that first round? If someone was to ask me that, again, I give you all of the information of going through the process. In most cases, if we do all those things prior to that, the first round is going to be pretty decently matched to your expectations and your customers' expectations. And we've walked through that process with you so much that you're gonna feel part of it. It won't be some surprise reveal. It will be more like a aha reveal, and a bit of ease and a bit of wow, they got it. This is exactly what my business wants. Next up, looking for the red flags. Here are some of the things that if you say to a designer, I think might be a bit of a red flag. Do you offer unlimited revisions? That means you've probably never worked with a creative before, and you're scared about getting the right end result. You hear 2 rounds of revisions from creatives like us, and that might sound like, ooh, that's not enough. What if we need more? Well, I'm going to show you in my onboarding and maybe even in my agreement where we have it all spelled out that you do get 2 rounds of revisions. And on top of that, if we go beyond that scope, it will move to an hourly. So you're covered in a certain way there. But I'm also going to tell you that in my 2 rounds of revisions, I'm going to give you plenty of time to do each round. Most of the times, new business people that come and work with us, creatives, they fire back revisions so quick that it's literally 20 minutes after I've sent something, I'm getting bits and pieces like, oh, that looks great, but not sure about the green, or hey, that font's not exactly what I was thinking. More to come. No. You get 48 hours, if not more, to go through everything, write the list out, and take the time to make sure each round of those revisions is really worth it. So by the time you're in that second round, you're truly just doing finishing touches, making sure everything looks great. And if I can put you at ease by telling you my process and how we've done this with many other clients before, you're going to feel fine. So that unlimited revisions, if you bring that up, that's a code to a designer that there's no boundaries. And we have to work on boundaries. We're setting ourselves up as professional business owners that have to put checkpoints into play, have to work with timelines. balancing other clients and other engagements. So making sure you're open to the idea that, yes, I will have set boundaries and set revisions, but there are options to get around that. And that just makes you feel a little bit more safe. Another red flag that I would never suggest a business owner take up when they're looking into a new creative hire. A lot of times you're reluctant to sign a contract or something that kind of shows that you are now tied into us in some way. Hopefully, most designers I know and a lot of our listeners have spent a lot of time building a very cohesive agreement, proposal, contract that does something totally different and maybe you've never seen before. What it does is it protects both sides. My agreement really, I'd say, is 60% covering more of you than it is me. I want to make sure you are confident. You feel 100% assured that this is an agreement that you'll sign, and you'll see that most of the stuff in there is really covering both of our butts. So keep that in mind. It's not that we are going to do it our way or the highway and not consult with you. In fact, my agreement talks about all of the checkpoints and the times we will consult and have those conversations and what it's for. And going back to number one, what is the whole reason we're even doing this for? What matters with this project? Keeping that in line through the whole phase makes everything easier, including getting to that point where you're signing the contract and feeling more confident in working with us. The next red flag, they only talk about themselves, not your business. So one of those things is maybe you're looking at designers online and there's just a lot of talk about them, their work, but there's not enough about business oriented stuff and metrics. Did they move the needle for a client? Did they solve a problem for a client? Whatever it might be. So if there's too much of that going on a website, or maybe when you're having the call with them, that could technically be an inexperienced creative that is really just trying to push more and more about them than the work and the problems that they solved. So my advice would be look for the designer or the creative for hire that truly talks about business, talks about growth, and talks about solving the problem for you. So that's just a simple red flag that I think if you saw, I would ask a few more questions about that to the actual designer that you're talking to. Next up, pay attention to fit, not just the skills. So this is going to be a relationship. This is someone you're going to be working with very closely for a long period of time. So pay attention to the fit, meaning how is the conversation going with them? Are they showing you the way? Are they telling you bits and pieces of the process as we go along? Are they telling you about why they started their business and what gets them up in the morning and why do they love design and being a creative? Those kinds of things are great to hear. I know with anybody I technically hire for even something around the house or whatever, you want to sound, you want that person to sound like they know exactly what they're doing. This is the job for them. This is the industry for them. So designers, do your best to promote that kind of positivity when you're having those onboarding conversations, because they're going to be thinking that way. Any potential business owner is going to want to hear that. We're going to be spending weeks, if not months, working together on something. So business owners really kind of take the pulse when it comes to who you're talking to. Have an introductory call with the 2 to 3 maybe design agencies or small businesses that you're chatting to hire for creative and design services. See how it goes. Have that conversation. If they're in your neighborhood, if they're close by, try to meet with them. Meet for a coffee. See how that works. If not, do it on Zoom. Don't just make it a phone call. Never just leave it to just email. They should get a chance to really sell their business. I know myself and many other creatives and design services people really have learned how to explain all of these great things and the advantages of working with them. So give them that chance, because again, you're going to be spending a lot of time with these people and you just want to make sure it is a good fit. Sometimes I think an inexperienced person who has never worked with a creative might pick and choose based off an incredible image or some art that was seen first. And you're like, I've got to find that person. If that's exactly what you need and that artwork or that vibe is right along the lines of what you need, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to meet that person and make sure it's still a good fit, because you never want to lead with just the skill. You also want to fuse in the idea of the fit and how great it's going to be working with that person. Also, ask yourself, is this creative listening to you? Are they listening to your pain points? Are they listening to your problem? Do they take it all in before bringing back some kind of answer or some kind of solution? So, do they listen? Do they get your business? Do they get your audience? Do they get your personality? These are things that they're going to be listening for, particularly the business owners. So creatives, do your best to make sure you are showing that you are that right fit. Do you know their business? Maybe you don't. What I'll do in most cases, if I've got an onboarding call and I'm meeting with someone, I will do 20, 30 minutes of just a little bit of research on your industry and figure out some key things. I want to show you that I know exactly what you're doing, where your business is, and I'm open to learning more, but I want to show you that I get your industry and I get, most importantly, your audience. I want to identify that even before we've talked. So designers, do your homework, make sure that's there, because these business owners are going to be looking for that when it comes to making that final decision. If not, it doesn't matter how talented they are. In most cases, it just might not work. I have talked to so many people that have hired creatives and have told me that, like, oh, it was such a horrible experience and I'll never do that again. It's just a rarity nowadays. So many of us on the creative side and individual entrepreneurs have, again, spent the time to know how to take you through the process. And we have experience throughout most of our careers to know how to bring that advantage to you. So I hate hearing that's still happening. I still get those people that will say, like, oh, our last designer was this or whatever. I mean, that's just our opportunity to show you that we're going to do it a lot better and we're going to give you incredible customer service. And designers, break that stereotype. Make sure we are, if you hear that the same way I do sometimes with new businesses that are coming your way, make sure you're shattering that mold and giving them the idea that any creative you work with is going to do a great job. Next up, talk about budget early and honestly. Now, if a designer isn't asking budget right from the very beginning, I don't know, maybe that's inexperience, or that's just maybe someone that doesn't have to worry about it too much and can take a small job and be fine with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are plenty that are doing it on the side, and that might be the case. Don't dance around the budget. Come clean with it. Talk about it from the very beginning to any designer you are talking to. Be upfront about what you can invest. In fact, what I've started to do is change anything from fee or cost to investment. I love saying that, and that gives me a better conversation with any onboarding new client. It just sounds better because that's exactly what it is. It's you investing in your business. It's not a fee or a cost. I like to think of it more as what value is this going to bring to you, just like we talked about in point number 1. So be upfront, know what you can invest in this project, and let the designer tell you what's possible at that level. That is a great way to go into it. In fact, that might be the thing that says immediately, oh, that doesn't even reach my minimum as a new project as a designer. I'm glad you mentioned that up front, so we didn't spend more time going into any more detail. I might be able to recommend another designer for you. And that's what we will do for you as a potential client. If someone comes in and they're far too low on the budget than something that I'm more used to, I have a network of people that I can send that person to. And that's how we work in our creative community. So be upfront with it. Let them know upfront what that's like. In some cases, it might be the perfect fit. And then it allows the designer to say yes or no to that, right? I'm flexible. I know I don't have a set amount, but I know I have a little bit of a buffer zone. So if we're in the neighborhood, we can talk, and that's fantastic. Let the designer tell you what's possible at that level. And again, that's where you can start off on a much better foot than you guys being uneven. And then you're starting from that point. There's never a catch up. But if it's a closer kind of match, you're bound for success. A good designer can scale solutions. And that's true. I've had many times where I've been able to kind of like manipulate the scope and find maybe a more introductory way to start a project rather than go full blown engaged in the big project that we were first talking about. Maybe it's baby steps. And that's a way for me to say, hey, I get to test the waters with you. And on your end, you do the same thing. You're testing the waters with that creative and seeing if it's something that will work really, really good. And keep this in mind. The cheapest option is rarely the best one. So with all this flexibility of knowing where the budget's going to be, maybe compromising a little bit, the cheapest option is rarely the best. I've had many times where maybe I gave in and said, let's just do that small amount or the cheapest option. And again, things happen so fast in these different industries that by the time it's out, by the time it's like trying to do its job, it doesn't have a fair chance to do it because you've gone to like the cheapest level. So again, let the designer work with you and finding a better compromise. Don't go straight to the cheapest one if we're not in the right budget zones. Okay. You're hiring a partner, not a printer. You're hiring someone to walk you through the process, to hold your hand through these times where you don't understand what's going on. In fact, we'll be that liaison to you when it comes to vendors and printers and all these different things, online resources, whatever it might be. We know that like the back of our hand. So we're going to be the liaison and that perfect partner with you through these things. So that's what you're hiring. Don't forget, we're not just giving you pretty pictures. We're doing so much more. All right. Ask for proof you can trust. So testimonials, references, great case studies. Hopefully you've checked those out on the designer websites that you're looking at. It doesn't have to be fancy. In fact, sometimes it's the human touch. I have a list of 5 to 6 different previous or current clients that I will connect any potential client with for a testimonial. I'm very selective of first who that group is. Let's be honest, you want the best, and I want to make sure it's someone that's tangible and connected to your industry in some way. There's got to be some connectivity between you, this new business that we might be working with or client, and a previous one that I'm going to connect you with for a recommendation. I know exactly what they're going to say, and they'll be truthful and tell you what we did, how we pushed the needle, all those things. Did we walk them through the process? Fantastic. Even a past client just saying they listened, they delivered, and we love the results. That's what you need. Think of any time you go on a referral or you're looking at customer reviews on Yelp or on Amazon, how helpful those things are. They give you that boost of confidence to make the move. If they can't point you to anyone that will vouch for them, that could be a problem. So red flag for sure if there's no testimonials or any kind of recommendations that designer is connecting you to. And designers, make sure you have that in your back pocket. Again, you might get that great opportunity coming down the road. So make sure you have those ready to go to really kind of seal the deal. Next up, start small if you're unsure. So like we said earlier with budget, maybe budget's not the factor. Maybe it's just there's a hesitation or the person feels a little bit like reluctant to get into this thing and kind of like, can we test the waters a little bit? I think that's a thing to ask a designer right at the very beginning. Not ready to jump into the big rebrand or whatever it might be. Start with a smaller project, a social media campaign, a menu redesign, a landing page, something that kind of tests the waters and just allows you to have that chance to see if you're a good fit. Because believe it or not, that sounds like maybe, oh, that's a little bit less than what I was expecting. If the designer's thinking here and you're going to come in and say, can we test this out a little bit on a smaller project? What that's going to do to a real solid graphic designer or creative for hire is it's going to make them want to shine as best as possible. Because now I get this like opportunity that's paid, obviously, and it gives me that chance to show what it's going to be like to work with me. If I didn't have the confidence that working with me is a good thing, I would probably say no to this thing, right? Because it would just be like, whoa, this isn't going to work for me. But I can tell you, business owner, that most designers, young entrepreneurs, anyone in the space of kind of freelance or contracted designers have really spent a lot of time and would love the opportunity to work on something small and give you that opportunity to see how it is to work with them. Also, it gives us a chance to show how we're going to communicate with you. Are we going to use a online system like Slack or Trello to show you how our process works, whatever it might be? It also shows how you handle feedback. And again, we have gotten much more experience with learning how to work with so many different people. And if we have a track record and if we have processes that are in order to run a project along in a really easy way, you're going to see that from the designer and the experience you get. If it's a good fit, go bigger the next time. So again, everyone wins. It's a fantastic thing. So if you're a business owner, here's a few takeaways I want you to think about before you hire that designer. Hiring the right designer isn't about luck in any way. It's about asking the right questions, looking for the right signals, and finding someone you trust. So hopefully these questions and these things that we've given you are a great way to kind of make the introduction, show the designer you've done your homework, you're a little in tune with what we do, and that'll give us the reason to want to shine even more, make really good connections, and hopefully we can get to a project and work with you guys. And to my fellow designers out there, I hope you're listening, because this is exactly how new clients are thinking. The more you can speak to their needs, show your relevance, show your worth, show your value, the more projects you will land. So I hope this has been an educational look for both sides, but mostly for those business owners out there that have never worked with a creative. I hope this gives you some insight as to how far our industry has gotten, and particularly the smaller design businesses and individually owned freelance companies, because we have survived. We have made it through COVID. We've made it through layoffs. We've made it through all of these different ups and downs. And we're here to help, and we're here to make sure you get the best creative for the best reasons. So I hope it was helpful, guys. If you enjoyed this, please leave a comment, leave a question. I'm here to answer anything you have as far as on the business side and the creative side as well. You can find the comment section on both YouTube and Spotify, or leave it on the post that we do for our Instagram. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye. Deeply graphic.